Namaste. We have been working with the Kleshas, which are the 5 different categories of mental afflictions that can cause suffering. But the good news is yoga says suffering can be avoided. And it's important for our awareness to expand in order to try to avoid this awareness. And we try to go to the root cause of whatever that may be. This particular week, we're on the 2nd category, which is the ego. I've given lots of examples throughout the week concerning that. And the ego is something we all get. It's the part of the self that we identify with, whether it's our personality or maybe even the judgment or idea that we have about ourselves compared to others. The ego can give us that competitive drive, which, you know, is important in some areas of our life, but shouldn't apply to yoga. And sometimes we're even competitive with our own self versus another person. So we'll go ahead and get started on the mat with the idea of trying to shed some of the ego, recognizing we're not our jobs, or, you know, speaking of jobs, I've heard several people across the years when they're getting ready to retire, they get excited about retirement. And then when it actually comes down to it, after maybe like the first week, then they're coming into the studio talking about, you know, they're trying to rediscover who they are, and they're trying to rediscover, you know, what they want to do with their life, because it's like a whole new phase. So we're faced with the ego even in those latter years. So with that in mind, let's meet on the mat. Hey, Wendy, glad you could join. So what we're going to start with is just being supine on our backs. So if you want to roll down and separate your feet, I would suggest placing the hands onto the upper part of the stomach, since this is the housing of the egoic self, the housing of our inner strength, the place or energy vortex that allows us to feel confident. We know when there's an excess of energy here, we could be too egoic or too boastful. And when we're deficient, we can have low self-esteem. Close your eyes and begin your breath work. And as you're breathing in and out through the nose, notice the bellowing effect of the belly. The swelling on the inhale, softening on the exhale. And continue to breathe and breathe well so that you're connecting and grounding down into your body. Connecting to and opening and expanding the heart. Connecting to and slowing down the mind. Perhaps reflecting on how the ego may be showing up presently. Maybe this week prior to today. Now there's good and bad components to it. And it may have helped you to persevere. It also may have turned you against yourself. And this is where the light of awareness turns on. Do we have a healthy relationship with the ego? Or is the ego overriding our true nature, our soul? Now, since the core of the body is where we tend to have that self-identification, we're going to slide the feet together and we're going to take the hands up underneath our seat. Now, with your hands up underneath your seat, it's basically like creating a diamond or a triangle with your index fingers and thumbs to set the tailbone in between or dropping into that space. And this will help to be more supportive for what we're going to be doing. We're going to do single leg lifts. So focus on your right leg, point the toes, inhale, lift it up. Exhale, flex the ankle and lower it down. Now you can hover and hold or touch the floor. Either way is fine. Stay on the right side. Inhale, point and lift. Exhale, flex and lower. So bring in that state of mindfulness so that you're not just flaring or kicking the leg up. Let it be slow and controlled. This is strengthening to the abdominals and to the hip flexors. And you can tell how it's activating the muscles through the leg, which can be very toning. All right, after this one, go ahead and set your right heel to the mat. And then we'll swap sides. Point your left foot, sail it up, flex the ankle, and lower it down. Continue. Feel free to use that Ujjayi breath if you want the breath audible to listen to. And it's also perfectly fine to keep it quiet with the diaphragmatic breathing. The Ujjayi breath can be more invigorating. The diaphragmatic is calming. Let's go ahead and lower the left foot down to the floor. Remove the hands from underneath, and you're going to take the legs wide again and the arms wide overhead. Now we're going to keep the head to the floor today. I did this in Blissful yesterday and we lifted and twisted. But for today's yin flow, we're just going to elevate the left leg, right arm. Don't worry if you tap the foot or not. Inhale, recline down. Lifting the right leg with the left arm. And then recline down. And you're just swapping sides, alternate limbs, back and forth. One more to each side. We'll end with the right foot and the left arm because that was the second side we started with. And that way you're more balanced. Now recline down to the pentacle pose. It's like the yin form of Shavasana. Notice the length of the body. Feel free to close the eyes. And then slide your left foot over to your right. Slide your left arm over towards your right hand so that you're creating banana asana. Keep the shoulders resting. If the back of the hands don't touch the floor, it's okay to take your arms in a different position because that hovering may begin to strain the shoulder. So shed the ego and do less if necessary. On the next inhalation, go ahead and slide your left foot over. Take your left arm over, bring your head to center. Return to pentacle. Pausing. Slide your right foot over to your left. And then curve the upper body to the left. Creating that shape of a crescent moon or a banana. When you're ready, fan the right limbs back out. Turn the head to center. Returning to pentacle. And on the next out breath, you're going to draw the knees in. Catch them with your hands. Keep them separated. Nice and wide. Tree frog. Thighs are hanging open. The sacrum is anchored. Hips unfolding. You can always add in more or let go and do less. I just discovered once I started doing less, instead of pulling the knees in, it actually started to feel better. And I felt like it was targeting the places in the hip that I needed it. So feel free to explore and discern what you need. Holding tree frog 3 more breaths. And then pull the knees together. And sink your right foot to the floor. Now we're going to do something we haven't done in a little while. I want you to angle or line up your left knee with the left side of your chest. Slowly lift the foot up towards the ceiling so the knee stays bent. Your first option would be lace your hands behind the knee and just gently pull the leg down. Your second option is to see if your hands can grab the foot. And again, you're pulling it down. So it's not happy baby, right? Because that way In that pose, the knees kind of angle to the side. In this pose, the knees coming straight in towards the chest. Stay with it and breathe. Three more breaths. Make it count. Plant your left foot. Pick up your right. Again, angling the knee straight in towards your chest line. Lifting the foot in the air. Determining, is it better for you to clasp a hold behind the knee? Or is it possible to take the foot and pull it towards you? One more breath. Let your knees stand open. Bring the soles of the feet together. Keep your hands residing on your belly. And relax and breathe here. So what makes yin different from restorative? We typically don't use as many props in yin, even though you can. But notice, without having blocks or bolster underneath the legs, then the knees are hovering in midair, which is creating a deeper sensation for the inner thighs and hips. So in the yin version, gravity is helping. I always suggest if one side uh, is a little less manageable, and sometimes that happens, you can lift that knee, staying productive on the good side. And then once you give the troublesome side a break, then you can open it back up. Now we're going to slowly begin to flutter the knees back up. And exhale, cup a hold of the knees, but keep them knit together this time. Apanasana, the wind release pose. It's a nice relief after that big opening. All right, now we're going to roll to one side of the body. Go ahead and come on up to take a seat. When you come to take a seat, we're going to have the hands kind of stacked behind us. We'll separate the feet wide. And then we're rocking the knees over to one side. And then we're taking them over to the other. So I like to inhale to the left and exhale to the right. Now go ahead and lift the knees, bring the feet together, close the thighs together, and lift tall. I'm gonna come back here. Let your left arm wrap around your knees and notice you may slump in your posture. If you do, reinvest in the length of your back, and then the right hand's gonna circle behind you as you twist. Close your eyes and connect to your back body. Trying to break up some of the tension that may have been held in the muscles. Exhale, unwind. And you're going to straighten out your left leg. And then you're going to let the right knee drop off to the side. We're going to flex the left foot, elevate the arms overhead, and then we're going to twirl to the right, letting the left hand come to the right knee, and the right hand will return behind our back. You may feel a little bit more freedom to rotate through the shoulders or ribs. From that previous pose. We are still being influenced by the full moon. So close your eyes. And I want you to bring in the affirmation. I radiate my love, goodwill, and compassion to soul friends everywhere. And then unwind. Ooh, that was deep. All right, lift your right knee, slide your left knee back, and then we'll take the first twist, with the right arm hugging. Reinvest in the length of your back. This time the left hand will swim around behind you. And again, just notice your range of motion in the twist. Notice how far you can see with your peripheral vision. Exhale. Slide your right leg out. Open up the left knee. Arms are going to reach up. Exhale, fan the arms open. Notice the difference in the twist. You may have, again, more freedom than you did before. Sometimes I have the habit of cranking the neck too much. So I like to remind you guys of that occasionally in case you're doing it. That way you don't have to strive so much. And that's not necessarily the ego. It could be habit. Oh, that felt good. Okay, we're gonna come to stand. When you come to stand, let's just go ahead and take it to the top of the mat. And root your feet down. Stack your legs, bring your hands to prayer. Inhale, the arms circle up. Exhale, bring your palms together and start to bend your knees as you hinge. Because we're going to start off with Dangling Pose, which is a Yin version of Uttanasana. Feel free to nod your head, shimmy your shoulders, and move into stillness. So the twist can naturally bring the energy up to the brain. But now we're using gravity to manipulate it to the brain. And more than just the brain, to the pineal gland that allows us to see beyond matter or our limited idea of reality. If you're ever wanting to learn more about that particular gland, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about it in depth. And if you're not a reader, you can always just Google him and look him up on YouTube. There's lots of videos. He's fascinating and has tons of information regarding the pineal gland and how it relates to meditation and to spirituality. It's nice to have a scientist, a science-minded person that can bridge science and spirituality together. Oh, my legs are feeling really achy holding this for a while. Notice if your bones are feeling it, if your muscles are feeling it, if your connective tissues are feeling it. It may be a blend. All right, so we're gonna get out of this. We're gonna step the left foot back and we're gonna sink down to the back knee and keep your back toes curled and make sure that your hips aren't back over the left knee. You actually want your hips settling in between the knees. So you have that angle, so you have that dipping effect. If it's too much for your knee to keep the back toes curled, you can leave it out. It's still a Yin pose regardless. All right, we're going to untuck the toes on that back foot. And I want you to apply pressure on top of the foot so that you can actually pick up your knee. And the front of your ankle may be a little resistant to that. Just try your best. And then settle the knee down because we're coming up to higher ground. Now, instead of pushing the foot and drawing the hips back, we're actually going to keep the hips low. Hands are going to stack to the knee, and then you build the crown up from there. Now, in this position where you're really surrendering into this high-flying dragon, if you feel it pinching or compressing in your low back too much, that's when you will make that decision to be more active, pushing into the foot, drawing the hips up and back so that you can alleviate some pain. Because we're not supposed to be in pain. So that's not the intention. feel like I'm really struggling with yin today. Staying committed to the pose. 3 more breaths. Whew, let's exit. Rock the hips back. Slide your right knee back to join. And if you want to use your bolster, you can, but you're going to drop into extended triads. The elbows can actually melt down to the floor as well, along with your brow. Notice the inward expression of this pose compared to the outer expression of the previous one. I haven't mentioned this in a while, but when I guess it was 2006, I was going through a lot. I was going through a divorce. I was going through the sickness and the death of my grandmother. And when I was doing my home practice, I found myself in this pose and just not wanting to get out. I wasn't following a video. I just knew I needed to practice. And then I found myself in pigeon and holding it for a long time. And what I didn't realize was I was actually doing yin, not even knowing that that style existed. I was really happy when I found this particular style of yoga. A lot of these yin postures, I have this inward expression. It's time to reflect and go in, recuperate. Now extend your arms out in front of you, rock up to hands and knees. Let's take downward facing dog. Let's stretch out those legs. And this is still an inward pose, but your eyes can stay open. Now we're going to walk and travel the feet back to the front. Keep your knees bent. We're reforming dangling pose. Now I like just hanging like a rag doll. This is my favorite version. A lot of teachers will teach the holding the elbows, which I like too. So feel free to do either one. Monitor your mouth. Don't have any tension there. Same with your eyes. All right, we're gonna step the right foot back. Sink the back knee.
And then you can be on hands or fists. Your hands can be on blocks. And so the knee doesn't have to be perfectly precise over the ankle. In Yin, the rules are not stringent. So the knee, my knee's crossing over just a little bit, but that's okay here. All right, we're going to untuck the back toes and push down through the top of the foot and try to elevate the knee. We're not going to hold this one as long because it's a little bit more awkward. Set the knee down, and then we'll come up to higher ground. So the hands again stack to the knees, and we just slowly lift the trunk up. Again, if you need to be active to cater to your low back, you know what to do. Let the shoulders relax away from the ears. This is a challenge today. Let's do 3 more breaths. I just realized this is the hips, and it is the full moon. And the full moon, let's back up, relates to Yin, and it also correlates to emotion, which gets heightened during this time of the month. Let's ground the palms, table, curl the toes, take downward facing dog. We're going to take seal, which is a heart opener. So if you come back to your knees and just kind of roll down, you can take your hands a little wider. I usually take them as wide as the sticky mat, and I slightly dial my hands away from each other, and then I just push up, keeping the pubic bone on the floor. So the same foundation of seal is like cobra, even though it's different because the legs are passive, the buttocks is passive, and the hands are more ahead. So if that's too much, please remember this is a good alternative. And so that's where the ego can come in sometimes in the practice, because we may want to do more, or maybe we have done more in the past and we want to recreate it. But it really should be dependent upon the day and the moment and the experience. So instead of muscling through or forcing something, we stay mindful. and cater to our needs today. Exhale, slowly come down to the chest and chin. Hands return up underneath the shoulders. Pull the feet closer together. Push up. Keep your shoulders over your hands, and you may have to crawl the knees slightly forward. We need a counter. So drop the tailbone. Squeeze in through the belly. And lift high through the shoulders as you bow your head, cat stretch. So this is interesting. If your head's bowing in cat stretch, look at your thighs and notice if they're lining up correctly. Because I just noticed when I looked at my legs, I was shifting my weight to the right, and I could see it from my hips. All right, inhale, reflatten the back, curl your toes, launch into downward facing dog. Now, we're gonna walk the feet forward towards the hands, but they don't have to come all the way up, because we're gonna turn the heels towards each other, the toes away from each other, and we're gonna lift the heels and bend the knees so that the seat's coming down towards the feet. The arms are going to walk ahead. You have the option to stay here, or you have the option to circle the hands back behind your feet and still the head. This Garland pose represents and is symbolic of gratitude. Maybe while you're here, having some gratitude for maybe something that has become more illuminated within. What's being highlighted in your mind, in your heart, in your life? Are you reassessing your thought processes? Are you reassessing your feelings about someone or something? And being grateful for those moments where we have fresh, new realizations. All right, we're going to bring the hands around in front and safely come down to the floor. Now, your feet are going to slide forward. So you have this rhombus or diamond shape. Hands to the knees. We're first going to puff the chest up, roll the shoulders back, open your throat wide. And then as you exhale, you're going to wave it down, sliding the hands towards the shins and the feet. Rounding the back. Butterfly pose. So the subject is about the ego this week, and at Unity Yoga, where I teach in Mount Juliet, the bathroom wall is painted. You guys know what I'm talking about, but I don't know what the paint's called. But you paint the wall where it's like a chalkboard, okay? And so every few months, the owner will put a question on the board, kind of like our community board we used to have at the back of our studio. And then people will add their answers to the questions. And the question right now is, what are you trying to manifest in your life? And, you know, there's tons of answers up there, like joy and happiness, a new job, a relationship, more opportunities, happiness, more acceptance and love. You know, it's all these things. And then I had to laugh last night because we had been talking about the ego. And I go into the bathroom and I noticed for the first time someone had written something that was so different than what everybody else did, because everybody else was thinking, you know, something a little bit deeper. Someone wrote biceps. I'm trying to manifest biceps. And so that's like the ego, right? Wanting to look or appear or be a certain way physically. All right, we're going to inhale slowly, start to roll back up. Find a straight back. You're going to separate the feet. Take the hands behind you. We're going to do that twist again. So inhale to the left. Exhale to the right. Now this time when you turn the knees to the right, instead of leaning back into your hands, come up so that instead of the spine being back, it's erecting over the hips, and twist a little deeper to the right. And then unwind, lift the knees, cross them over to the left. And then again, instead of leaning back with the vertebrae, lift it up and then spin to your left. And then exhale, release. All right, we're going to find our bolster. We're going to use it and make a restorative position where we roll and make a back bend. And I'm going to let you steep and marinate here for the remainder of our time together. Notice the nice openness in the belly. The lift at the center of your chest, which is oftentimes sunken in. And the shoulders that are often draping forward are now draping backward. And so part of our intention of coming to yoga is to expand our hearts, to expand and open our mind, so that we're not limited by how we're self-defined, that ego identification. And this is why that chakra series was important. Because the seat of the ego is the third. We move beyond that into the heart, and then on up into the mind. You don't need to reflect on anything in particular. Just drop from a state of doing into a state of being. And maybe this is your chance or opportunity to notice what is being highlighted. What are you noticing? Is there a pattern? Is there a limiting belief? Is there something that this new energy is revealing to you? Hearing the sound of the mindfulness bell. Take that as your cue to begin to deepen the flow of your breath. Make some movement in your hands and feet. Slide the feet in to roll to one side of your body. Maybe even sitting on your bolster, like a zafu cushion. Sitting attentively. Breathing easily. Joining your hands to prayer position at your heart. Now we're going to continue our study of the Kleshas next week, moving into attachments. So for the weekend, just monitor times where the ego wants to take over. And then take a deep breath to reconnect to your soul. The light of the soul within me honors and humbly bows to the light of the soul within you. Namaste.